Yeah. You know, I gotta tell you, days like this, when there is a hustle and a bustle about the city, really sort of reminds me of growing up in Chicago with my grandmother. I mean, honestly, it's the busyness of everything that we had going on that sort of reminds me. I mean, we would walk to the market very early on a Saturday morning, and seemingly she'd be pulling me from behind, and I'm just trying to catch up, but we had to make our way to the Blue Ribbon Meat Market and Dominic's Finer Foods. We had to get there early. And I guess in going, there's something about watching her. I thought it was just about groceries, but honestly, I think the lesson was so much greater than just about groceries. It was a lesson for me in how you feed people. It was a lesson in how you take care of people. It was being super intentional about the ingredients that you put on a plate and what you feed to other people. And for me, I mean, the experience was absolutely phenomenal. And even though now I'm halfway across the world, it's those same lessons that she taught me that ring even louder, and the same lessons I'm taking with me right here into this market. Let's go. Interesting to me, back in the day, it seems like everything that we did was slow and methodical, and there was sort of an intentionality behind everything that we did. Nobody was in a rush, you know what I mean? You took the time, you did it right. And sort of being here in Bali reminds me so much of that. The abundance of fresh produce, the lack of, for lack of a better word, things that are super modern. It just takes time to make the stock from scratch. It takes time to get sort of the right ingredients. It takes time to do it and do it well. And for me, just the accessibility of all of this feels like a gift. That's what it feels. Honestly, to me, it feels like a gift, doesn't it? You know what's so interesting to me too is also, I can remember my grandmother sort of looking at the vegetables and picking the vegetables up and finagling with everything just to make sure she got the right ingredient, the right produce. You know, she would pinch the peaches the right way. She used to tap on the melons the right way, really sort of teaching me that there is a way that you're supposed to go about doing this. And so in doing all of this, you know what's so interesting to me is like, we become the people that raised us. Like literally in this moment, I am now sort of reincarnated to be my grandmother as I'm pinching melons, picking out produce. It's amazing. First off, it just came in, so give our hands a quick wash. What is cleanliness, they say? Next to godliness, of course, all right? All right, I have the chicken that we purchased from the supermarket. He is right here. But what I think is gonna be important is getting the spice mix and the spice blend correct. If you know anything about sort of Black cooking or African-American cooking, it's very spice heavy, right? The beauty in that is knowing how to mix the right spices to get the exact flavoring that you need. And this is what I'm talking about when I say my grandmother was sort of a master at this, is because you got to take nothing and kind of turn it into something, you know what I mean? So with that being said, I'm going to do my best to achieve that today, all right? So here we go. And what we'll do is, instead of making the spice mixture separately, we're just gonna throw the spices right on the chicken. And the key to making it taste really good is marinating, right? That's what really sets the whole thing apart and makes it taste really good. So here's what we're gonna do. Just gonna wet a little paper towel, a little chefy trick, and paper towel goes underneath a non-porous cutting board. That way, we get ourselves a little bit of stability and we know we're good to go, all right? Got us a sharp knife, Darius Cook's collection. And then this is something that I've seen my grandmother do a million times. She never bought a chicken that wasn't whole, right? Because there's just so much that you can do with a whole chicken, from stocks to stews to soups to you name it. And when you've got to feed a bunch of people and you don't really have a lot of money, we don't really waste a lot. So what I'm gonna do is just gonna break the chicken down by cutting either side of the backbone with a sharp knife. And be careful on your fingers here. Kitchen shears usually work too, but this will do the trick. All right. All right. All right, once you get this backbone out, just break it right through the little neck area. You're gonna hear a little crack, like that. And then you could pull this part out. Now this you can save for stews or stocks or whatever the case may be. You don't really get rid of that, right? Those are chicken backs. And in the African-American community, a chicken back is almost considered to be, you know, a delicacy, if you will. All right, so what I'm doing now is I've gone spatchcock by removing the back out, and now I'm just cutting off the dark meat first, and I'm just finding the joint in between the leg and the thigh, giving it a cut, and then we're good to go. Wings, I'm just gonna come around here and look for the joint that you know, for the wing, the joint that connects it to the breast. And I can also just cut around that, and then that comes right off as well. So now I'm left with nothing but the breast. You can treat this however you like. So I'm just gonna cut straight down the breastbone. And since these breasts are super big, I wanna think about the cooking time, right? If I throw a leg in with the breast, what's gonna get done first? That leg is, because the breast is super big. So one of the things that my grandmother used to do is she would split the breasts, right? Depending upon how big the breasts are. That way, now what you've done is you've just added another piece of chicken, right? Waste not, want not. But also, now I know that my breast, along with everything else, is going to cook the way it needs to, all right? So we'll get in here with, let me just wash my hands first. I got chicken stuff all over everywhere. We'll get in here and we'll get this chicken washed up. Now, I am in Indonesia, I'm in Bali. This isn't a Purdue chicken, okay? So this one you wanna do what you gotta do. Their water here also is you gotta be very careful with it. I can use it to wash the chicken because I'm gonna fry the chicken, so any bacteria, you name it, will be gone. All right. And then what I like to do personally is I typically keep a little bit of filtered water right to the side, right? And then I can just do one final rinse sort of in this filtered water, and then I'm good to go. And if you want to do the lime and all that, that's also very popular in African American, well, not even African American cooking, more in Caribbean cooking, right? Because black is not just one thing. It's not just, you know, a single face. I mean, there's a multiplicity of cultures that come from sort of the African diaspora. And the interesting thing about it is all of us have different ways of cooking some of the same things, but there are so many similarities that it's just really, it's uncanny, all right? All right, with anything, let's talk about seasoning. We're gonna put in some salt. So I've got some sea salt here, so a fair amount, so we can really get, because we got a lot of chicken, and you wanna make sure every piece of that chicken is seasoned to perfection, all right? To that, I've got some black pepper. And I like a lot of black pepper in mine. There's just something about the beauty of this that I love. A little bit of red pepper flake. All right. I want you to see this. Come look at this. See what's inside this bowl so you can actually get a chance to see what the seasoning looks like. All right. Here's a little bit of onion powder. All right. I've got some garlic powder. I've got some Italian herbs or herbs de Provence, you name it. Throw that in there. All right, and then for a little bit of savory flavor, I've got a little bit of Cajun seasoning going in there as well. All right. Now, there's only one way to do this. One way. You get in here with clean hands. My grandmother always got in here, mixed it up with clean hands to make sure it really got all the flavor in there. Look at that. See how great that looks? Now, marination is gonna be very important here. So what you're gonna have to do is marinate this chicken. An hour is good. Overnight is even better if you can. So if you know you're gonna cook chicken or smothered chicken, marinate a day or two before is always good to go. If you did not have the time and threw this right into the grease, that would be absolutely okay. But since we're slowing down a bit and we're enjoying the view, we're gonna knock this into the fridge, let this sort of hang out, and then in a couple of hours, we'll fry it up. This part to me feels so much like an interesting dream, if you will, because I can remember, you know, my grandmother trying to find the right chicken, the right poultry for whatever the dish was that she was going to make. And I gotta tell you something, man, when you find the right one, and you know, you sort of see the smile on her face as she tells the butcher which one she wants, it's so interesting to me because you just knew in that moment that dinner was going to hit, and it was going to hit hard and in a good way. So hopefully this chicken will bring us all of the lovely memories, the memories that we wanna relive, the memories that we wanna experience, and the ones that we definitely wanna hold very close and deep to our hearts. Can I have 4 pieces, please? Yeah, the legs.
This?
Yes.
4, yeah?
4, yeah. You know what's also interesting is it reminds me, thank you so much, it reminds me of when we used to buy chicken as I was growing up. We were so poor, we never bought it by the pound. You know how you go to the store now and you get 4 pounds of chicken or 5 pounds? We just didn't have it. So I would watch my grandmother go, how much money do we have? And that's how much chicken we buy. So you would go, let me get $4 worth of chicken wings or $3 worth or whatever the case is. So this is definitely nostalgic and brings me right back to that place. And hopefully by making this smothered chicken, I will make her very proud. All right, it's been a couple of hours and my beautiful, lovely chicken is marinated. So I am going to add in some flour. Now, back in the day, my grandmother would keep she would have a paper sack, right? And that paper sack had flour. There was actually 2 paper sacks. There was one sack that had flour in it, and the other sack had cornmeal, all right? And so what she would do is whenever she had to fry up a pork chop or some chicken or whatever the case may be, she would pull out that one sack with the seasoned flour. That sack had to have been a couple of years old, 4, 5, 6 years old. And so the amount of flavor that had been soaked into that flour, as you can see, my mouth is watering just thinking about it. I think that even made the food taste even much more amazing. I don't think any of us would do that now because of the bacteria and whatnot, but back then it was a necessity. It was like a way of life. It's just what you did, you know? Everybody did it. You didn't waste anything. You took the bacon fat, you saved it. You took old grease and you saved it. It would last. You would filter it and the whole bit. So I'm just gonna shake out sort of the excess flour. I wanna make sure each piece is coated beautifully. And I'm just gonna shake off the excess. And I've got some oil behind me ready. So we can just take this and then drop this right off into that hot oil. All right, now here's the key, because we are gonna smother this. We're not gonna cook the chicken all the way through. That's one of the key ingredients, the key secrets to this is that you don't cook the chicken all the way through. You cook it all the way through, then you smother it in gravy, you dried it out. I'll show you how to make it perfect. And onion. I think I have pretty much everything I need to make this dish. You know, if you see me carrying herbs and spices on a scooter, just mind your business, knowing that I've got to do what I got to do to sort of preserve the history of our ancestors, even 10,000 miles away. I think that's what's so cool about food, right? Isn't it the fact that you get plenty of opportunity to put forth beautiful effort, right? You get to take what's in your heart and in your hands and merge that together with an experience for somebody else that simply cannot be beat. And I think that's what makes the idea of smothered chicken so amazing is you take a little of nothing, right? Just a couple of ingredients and a chicken, and you turn it into a complete masterpiece. That's the effort that was there. My grandmother did it. That's the effort that she passed down to me, and it's the effort that I hope will inspire you to do the exact same thing. Hello. Interesting, here in Indonesia, you've got to hand over the produce to a worker, and then they'll weigh it for you, and then you can take it with you. I know it looks a bit weird. It's celery. Thank you. Chinese celery. Looks like big parsley. Tastes beautiful. Thank you. All right, let's check out. So the chicken is doing its thing, and here's the beauty of this dish. It uses minimal ingredients, but super fresh ingredients, and ingredients that are like extremely flavorful. So I have probably the crux, if you will, of most soul food cooking, most sort of Cajun, Creole, kind of soul food cooking. There's like a blend. And I guess if you were, let's say, Chinese or Taiwanese, there's probably a blend that you would use: scallion, ginger, garlic, right? And pretty much everything. We have an equivalent in soul food cooking: onion, bell pepper, celery, and then garlic if you've got it, right? So check me out. I've got some beautiful, lovely celery. This is Chinese celery. I'm just gonna give it a chop after washing it, the leaves and the stems both. Beautiful, beautiful. Now put that into a little bowl. This is Chinese celery, but obviously regular celery could work. A rib or two. By the time we saute it down, it's gonna turn super sweet. None of that like super harsh celery flavor, you know? All right, this is a bell pepper, plentiful in soul food cooking. We use it, I mean, it's a staple in most things. It's a staple, all right? So I'm just gonna give it a cut and then a dice. Like this, yep. So I'm gonna do the whole pepper. This is a small one. If it was a large one, you do like, you know, maybe half of one. And then listen, I don't think green bell peppers go everywhere. I don't. I do think they have their place. And this dish that we're about to make is definitely a place that the green bells belong, like belong. But if you want to make this and they don't have green bells, totally okay with another color of pepper. I mean, you could even omit it if you needed to. I wouldn't, but it's not going to make the dish any less tasty if you omit it. All right. All right, so we have a whole bell pepper, and my chicken behind me, it's like slow cooking. It's not like, take a look at it. Let's see. Let's give this chicken a flip. Oh, look at that. Okay, wow. Beautiful. And everything's sort of about preparation, right? So while the chicken is cooking, I'm gonna get, as a matter of fact, let me get a plate ready now, right? You always wanna be thinking ahead, like what's the next step? What's the next step? And one of the next steps is the chicken is gonna need a place to rest. So we'll take this chicken out, put it on some paper towels to drain some of the excess oil, and then we'll put the next batch in. But at least we're ready to go now, and we're thinking in the way that we need to think when it comes to how good we're cooking over here, all right? So the bell peppers are gonna join the party with the celery. And then I've got half an onion and a scrap of a piece of onion. And this is where you use your scraps, right? This is why this is so great, because you can like clean out your produce drawer and put those vegetables that you would otherwise go, oh, what am I gonna do with these? Put them to some use by making gravy. All right, look at that. All right, this is great. So we have our onion, a bell pepper, and celery. We'll deal with the garlic in a second. We don't want to do both because you got to cook your garlic separately, or else it'll burn on you, all right? Speaking of burn, let's get this chicken out and get the next chicken in. Now the only thing left to do here is to give this garlic a little bit of love and a little bit of attention, all right? So you could mince the garlic, and mincing is great. I would never use the garlic that already comes minced. Don't ever do that. Fresh garlic always. And just a little slice on the garlic. Watch your fingers, because those don't taste good in the smothered chicken. And as much as you like, I'm a lover of garlic, so. several cloves for me. Beautiful, beautiful. I'll put this into a little container. All right, and let's flip this chicken. All right, let's take this chicken out. Now that it's got some color. And here's what we're gonna do to continue on. I'm going to drain out most of the oil that's in here. So I have a little container here, and I can just throw this oil carefully in here. And I'm gonna leave a couple of tablespoons in, just like this. All right, back on the stove this goes. And the first thing I'm gonna add in is the onion, bell pepper, and celery, not the garlic, because the garlic would burn. All right, let's get a little spoon and get this stirred together. Starts to smell immediately. This is what makes the smothered chicken taste so good, is that you've got all these flavors, and they're not competing flavors, right? So you've got the onion hanging out, it's gonna turn sweet. The bell pepper is mild, it's gonna turn sweet. And the garlic is, or the celery's there. It's just a little undertone to say, hey, let's have a bit of a party, all right? So in a second, we can add in the garlic. Slide that garlic in there. All right, and then what we'll do now is we're gonna add flour to this. This is a little all-purpose flour, and we're gonna make ourselves a bit of a roux, all right? Nothing to be scared about, nothing to be nervous about. It's pretty simple. Just sprinkle in some flour, a couple of tablespoons, just like that. With a spoon, just give it a stir. You just want to give it a stir, and what we're going to do is we're going to come back and stir it again every 30 to 45 seconds until we get the color that we like. Now remember, the darker the roux, the better the flavor, right? So we're going to need a nice, like a medium complexion roux. That'll be perfect for our gravy. You know, I didn't realize until I was much, much, much older just how much of a memory food can bring to you, you know. I'm thinking about the times I can hear my grandmother telling me don't burn the roux, or, you know, brown the onions just right before you add the stock. I remember all of those moments. And, you know, when I make a dish like smothered chicken, it takes me right back to the sights and the smells and the sounds. I'm literally sitting in that small little apartment, in that small little kitchen, hearing and smelling my grandmother over and over again. And that's the thing about soul food. Regardless of where you are, regardless of what you're doing, wherever you go, even 10,000 miles away, it stays with you forever. You can look and see what's happening over here, right? Our roux has sort of darkened on us a little bit, exactly what we want. So let's add in some water. And I'm just gonna stir and whisk as I add water to eliminate lumps in my gravy. All right, now this is looking good, but it's nowhere near ready to enjoy. We've got to do a few things. So let's throw in some chicken bouillon. I mean, you could use chicken stock if you've got it. I just don't have it. So a little bit of onion powder. Some of the same spices that we've already used before. Garlic powder. I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of dried herbs and then lots of fresh cracked black pepper. All right, let's give that a whisk or stir to get everything incorporated. And then before I stick this chicken in the smother, I do want to just put a spoon to taste it. This is where you want to make sure you've got your seasoning correct, your salt levels correct. Ah, beautiful, beautiful. Salted beautifully, that's gorgeous, okay? All right, let's nestle this chicken right back into this gravy, like this. All of it won't fit, so we'll do a few pieces and let it go until it's all nice and bubbly. Well, wait a minute now. Maybe they will fit. This is a very grandmother thing to do. Make it work, Darius, make it work. And we did. Look at that, chicken's in. Let the smothering begin. This is the beauty of making the smothered chicken with the beautiful gravy. I can come here and just ladle some of this gravy right over this chicken. So it's super thick, but all of the chicken's gonna get covered in this lovely gravy, this sauce. It's gonna be so good. All right, my chicken is done and looks stunning and fantastic. So I'm gonna dig into a little piece of this and see what all we're working with. Wow, look at that. Doesn't that look amazing? Ooh, look at the gravy, how thick it is. Wow, see that? Looks good. Let's see how it tastes. And yes, I'm cutting with this humongous knife. It's the first thing I grabbed. Let me see. Listen, I know it's just me sitting here having this, but when I taste this, I'm transported back to that little dining room table in my grandmother's house. The smells remind me of everything I had growing up. You know, when times were simpler and life was much more pleasant and you slowed down to enjoy things like smothered chicken with friends and with family, and it's absolutely amazing. That's what food does, right? Isn't food funny that way? It has a way to not just feed you, but also transport you. That's what food does. This is not just chicken. It's not just gravy. This is family, this is history, and this is me bringing history and culture wherever I go. Recipes like this, you can only find them in one place. That's the Darius Cooks Plus app. And there's two things I want to tell you, as I always do. Food is my life, it's my food. Until next time, I have to wish you a happy cooking from my heart to yours. Bye, y'all.